Hey, let's talk about productive procrastination. And I'm convinced there's such a thing. It was a thought I had the other morning. So every morning I've got a morning routine and I go through a number of things. Some of them are physical to wake my body up. Some of them are, of course, a little bit of meditation, but some of them are thinking. And one of those thinking elements is my daily journal. So what I do with my daily journal, I'm usually right-handed. I write with my left hand in my daily journal. Why my left hand? Okay. Because it slows down my, I was going to say thinking, but it slows down my writing. So it gives me a chance to think about things a number of times before my hand captures the next word. So I definitely write it a little bit slower with my left hand than I do with my right. I'm sure, if I can say that, I'm not going to say I'm convinced that writing with my left hand just challenges my brain in a slightly different way. Okay, but that's not the point of this video. That isn't the point of this video. Throwing it out there just in case you want to do it. But I started to do daily journals over, I don't know how long ago. Actually, I might have the date in this one. This was my first daily journal. And I started numbering the pages and I'm up to page 412. I'll be able to tell you in just a moment. And an entry would be, maybe a page, maybe half a page or quarter a page. So you can see, you can probably see some of the handwriting in there. I don't know what I just showed you. I don't think there's anything in there. But, so the point is, I'd just get up. Part of my morning routine is do my daily journal for as long as I wanted to do it for. Usually it was anything from 5 minutes to 10, 15 minutes maximum. Just assessing how yesterday went, what I learned, and what I can do for tomorrow, which is part of what these videos are all about. How we can make life easier, more simple, and improve performance. And so my review in terms of how I was going was in the daily journal. Now, if I had, this is where the productive procrastination comes in. If I had challenges that I had to face that day, I could ready myself for those challenges by getting into the daily journal. So in a way, sometimes I'd be thinking about the angle to take on some of those challenges. And some of those challenges would be relatively uncomfortable. But I'd think about the angle to attack those challenges at by filling out my journal. But what I found was the journal became almost like a nice form of procrastination, because the longer I spent writing in the journal, the more I was putting off the challenge. But because I was talking about the challenge all the time, it was preparing me to attack the challenge. So that's why I called it productive procrastination. So it's a form of procrastination, but you're using the time really productively. So anyway, that was my first journal. Filled that out and I felt really good, sense of accomplishment when I finished that journal. I've got a whole bunch of things in here that I've made notes on that I'm going to come back and talk to later. So for example, when I gave up caffeine, each day I documented what was the impact and how long did it take for me to come off caffeine and did it feel good. So that was my first journal. Then I think this was my son's old lecture book and it only had a couple of pages used in it. So what I did is I just grabbed that and just finished that book off. I didn't enjoy it so much because the spine, it was hard. It's hard enough writing with your other hand, let alone in a book that doesn't sit flat. So that was book number 2. That was hard to get through. Some pages were easier to write on than other pages. Then I came across this old book that I had a lot of pages left in it. And so I just filled those out. That's unlined, that was fine. And then finally, I bought myself a decent book, as it were. And whoops, here we go. And you may have seen I switched from writing from pen to pencil. So page 414 and went back to a lined one. And that's with my left hand. Now, this one, really thin spine, sits flat, much easier to write with. So, treat yourself to a nice journal. Consider the journal being part of your morning routine. Have purpose to it. So the purpose for my journaling is reflecting on what I learnt from yesterday and also what I'm going to focus on today. And one thing I always or I've been doing for the last year or so, is when I do today's entry, I always read the previous day's entry because that helps me reinforce. I may learn something yesterday and I made a note, but I don't want it to disappear. So when I'm doing the next day's journal entry, I go back and read the previous day. So if there's something I picked up yesterday that I want to repeat today, I carry it through. So that's how I carry it through. So a little trick, before you're about to finish writing up your journal, then quickly read yesterday's entry. Is there anything else from that you want to bring across? And that's it. And that for me meant it became productive procrastination. Now, with what I do in the morning, which is some morning exercises, some yoga, a little bit of meditation, some voice work, getting my voice ready for the day. That's a 50-50. Some what I call brain work. So there'll be some sort of brain teasers that I do or some reading that I do. And then my journal, of course. That by and large there's about 12 things, and I can go and I will go through my daily routine in a little more detail. At one stage it got way too big, so it takes about an hour now. Get up at 5:30, and that's usually knocked out before 7, and that includes having a little bit of breakfast and hydrating for the day. But I find it's a really good way to set me up for the day. But the point I was making is if I am pushed for time, the two things that last, that I will do and I'll squeeze in and are priority, and I think the best benefit is the yoga. So I've got a 10-minute yoga routine I do on the mat, and because I love running so much, that readies me for the running and the journal. The journal is super important, helps just focus my mind. The most underrated one is meditation, which is only, I initially used to put on a timer. I don't now, but the timer was only for 4 minutes, and I found that was enough. There's 5 things that I think about in my meditation that contribute, and maybe I'll do a video on that later too, that contribute contribute to the honing of my focus for the day. But the journal, as I say in yoga, the key things that I tend to do every day, I enjoy the most, and the journal, productive procrastination. And that's it. That's the definition of productive procrastination, and how I use that definition, or how that definition manifests in my morning routine, and some tips for you if you want to pick up journaling. One final tip: if you're going to journal, write about whatever you want to write about. Every day is different for me. So if I'm stewing on something and I'm really angry, I might talk about that in the journal and ask myself, why am I angry? Is it that big a deal? And I use that time to calm myself down. Again, productive procrastination. Learning something while I'm holding off on doing something else. If it's an idea you've got that you want to flesh out, do it in the journal. You don't have to cover off the same things every day. If you're focusing on your nutrition, some days you might talk about it, some days you don't. Don't make it a chore. Just write about whatever you want to write about. That's it. That's it. Should I recommend that you use your left hand? Give it a go. See how it goes. Worked for me, and I've stuck with it for whatever reason. I'm not going to say there's benefits to it. I just don't know. Okay, but I enjoy it. All right, that is it. Any questions you have, throw them in the comments. If you do want to subscribe, you'll get more videos like this, which are tips about how to make life more simple, how to make life easier. Those are slightly different things, and how to improve performance. Everything I share in these videos is stuff that I've done, not a concept or a theory or a tool that someone else has explained and espoused, and I'm passing that on. I'm sharing what I've done to make an impact for me. All right, that's it. Catch you in the next one. Take care.